Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Larkin, one half of the S&M Show podcast network, and welcome to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. I am pleased to have on a very dominant force in the LFC, Miss Jessie El Toro Santos. Jessie, it's a pleasure to be talking to you tonight.
Hi, Michael. How are you doing? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm happy to have you. I'll be honest with you, I love your work. You're probably one of the most, like I mentioned in the introduction, you're probably one of the most dominant forces in LFC. An impeccable record. I mean, you're probably one of the top contenders for that LFC championship that one Roxy Michaels has. So, I mean, hey, it's a pleasure to be talking to you.
Thank you so much. I think so. I have to agree myself because I know that I work a lot harder than some of the other people might because I'm very dedicated. But I have yet to have the opportunity to fight for it.
Well, I gotta say, LFC management, give Miss El Toro Santos that shot. I'll be honest with you. I've seen what you've been doing. I saw your video with Greg Frito, doing the whole thing where you're training, jiu-jitsu, MMA, the whole nine. I mean, you're really dedicated to what you're doing. That's what I love about you. I love your work ethic.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Yeah. A big motivation is to not get my ass kicked. So that's the last thing I'm going to let happen.
Okay. Well, let's start from the beginning with you here, Miss Santos. Talk about getting into LFC and just what really got you interested into the whole lingerie fighting championship, the whole LFC product overall.
Sure. Well, I had been training jiu-jitsu for a little while before, and I didn't realize that I was going to fall in love with jiu-jitsu the way that I did. It was kind of like that unsuspected lover that you weren't seeking out at any time. And I was just going to a couple classes to stay in shape and learn something. But it was someone who knew me through someone else who said, look, we got this TV show and we're looking for fighters. And I said, well, I've considered fighting, but I hadn't yet at the time. But I had, they casted me. Basically, I say casted because it's still a TV show and we're still, the actors essentially. But they wanted girls who could fight. So I started training, and I had no idea what to expect with this TV show. So through my training, we would spar, of course. And then when it came down to our first live show, I was like, this is the real deal. But with a special little twist in that it's a bunch of beautiful women. I mean, don't get me wrong, all women are beautiful. I mean, the Invicta, all the women's promotions of MMA and UFC, they have very, very beautiful women. Well, that's not what I'm trying to say, but I'm talking about women who are curling their hair before they go out and shaking their ass and when they're coming out of their curtains into the cage, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then, some people might not think that the superficiality is beautiful, but what was so shocking to me was how much confidence they exuded. And that was the most beautiful part of seeing these not only confident and sexy women, but then they get in a cage and fight. So that was really cool. So after that first show, when I was like, okay, this is serious. This is serious. I didn't know who they had on board, so I started training a lot harder. I took on some amateur fights since then, and also since then, just throughout the last couple of years, we've had some other LFC fights, and we're still going.
Well, I gotta say this as well, because we talk about the women there. Obviously, the lingerie, it accentuates what I love about the LFC product is, because I'm a big MMA fan, and I really do enjoy the overall aspect of the product, the physicality of it. But I gotta say this to you. As far as, obviously there are going to be a lot of detractors, like, oh, what's this? It's just MMA, but the girls are in the lingerie. That's not the proper way with MMA. And I got to tell you, it adds a lot of uniqueness to the product because, yes, you ladies are beautiful, but it accentuates you both as far as physical standpoint, as far as the in-ring product, and overall just as your beauty. So all in all, it's a win for everyone.
I think so, too. And I truly believe that women in general, because it's a man's world, as much as I hate to admit that, it's still a man's world, and fighting in any sport is a man's thing. And women have really had to work extra hard and step up and try even more in a man's sport because we're not taken serious anyway. So if we don't show that we're giving 100%, 100% of the time, then no one will take us serious at all. And so for a lot of years, I think when women would start doing a male-dominated sport, we kind of had to emulate men and be masculine and be and be tougher and just like, you know, we're not. We're very nurturing. We're different than men, you know. But that doesn't mean we can't train as hard or work as hard and fight as hard and be as dedicated. And you know that maybe we're not fighting men, but we're fighting other women. So it's, you know, it's the ratio of pound for pound, power for power is pretty equivalent if we're working hard, if we're all training really hard. So throughout all these years and all these sports, we're acting manly and looking manlier, not just because we're muscular or strong, but just, I don't know, just trying to puff out our chest too, to be known and to be taken serious. But what I love about the LFC is that you don't have to do that to be strong and be dedicated and be powerful. We can still be sensual and sexy and feminine. So, I mean, I think to me that's new. There's nothing like it. That's cutting edge. We don't have many sports that allow that and condone that and foster that.
I absolutely 100% agree with you. And I think what it is, when you look at MMA as a whole as well, I mean, Ronda Rousey is another one. I mean, UFC Hall of Famer. She's now doing her thing with World Wrestling Entertainment. And that also like goes with the whole MMA wrestling tie in, because it always goes back to, it doesn't even like go back to now, because everybody thinks, you know, Ronda Rousey and, you know, Brock Lesnar and all that. But it does go back to, you know, the days of when Ken Shamrock did it, Tank Abbott did it, Dan Severn did it. A lot of them did it. Look at Frank Trigg. Look at, you know, all these guys and girls, as far as Ronda Rousey's case goes. Just what do you think about the whole MMA pro wrestling tie-in that we see nowadays?
You know, there's a huge connection now, because back before MMA became so popular and so in demand, wrestling was the thing. Everybody watched pro wrestling, and everybody, you know, knew that it was a fight, it was a competition. And when they changed the name to entertainment instead of federation, then it kind of, you know, opened people's minds. Okay, they're not really, maybe in some cases, not really trying to kill each other. But then it was still entertaining nonetheless. I mean, it still required a lot of strength, a lot of training, a lot of hard work on your body, taking these bumps and these falls and these throws and these slams. But it still was entertainment. And then MMA became more and more popular and started growing very fast too. And viewers started realizing, oh, okay, this is what like a fight is like. And then cell phones came and started recording street fights and bar fights. And, you know, these fights look a lot different than this perfectly executed move in a ring of pro wrestling, you know? Mm-hmm. And now, because the general population is a little more savvy and aware on what a fight actually is, even though 98% of people have never been in any kind of fight physically. I don't know if that's actually accurate. I wonder how many have. I don't think a pushing and shoving match domestically or amongst girls in school counts. But now that they're a little more knowledgeable, I think that the pro wrestling has had to step up and say, we gotta kind of get a little more legit here. I mean, all of wrestling moves, the pro wrestling moves, have come from martial arts essentially, but I think they just elaborated on them because it's such a you know, made them flashier, and you have such huge arenas that you have to show the audience what you're executing on the other person from the top rafter. But so now that there's such a fan base to MMA and there's such a crossover of fans from pro wrestling to MMA, the pro wrestling has definitely started to adopt a lot of the styles. Because like originally pro wrestling is, you know, slow moving and big muscle men shoving each other around, throwing each other around. now we realize that size and muscles doesn't really matter if you have technique, and that was all that martial art was about. So when you have a person with mixed martial arts background, size isn't as important, although MMA still has weight classes, pro wrestling does not. So it's a lot more realistic in that a smaller guy could fight a larger guy, and that's like pro wrestling is. Instead of having these big Hulk Hogan or The Rock size guys, they have all kinds of diverse sizes of men and women, and because they know more techniques and are more technical due to having learned them, due to the popularity of mixed martial arts, then it's way more legit. With the crossover and stuff, I mean, it's new. I've talked to numerous UFC fighters who have crossed over to pro wrestling, and then I've talked to old school pro wrestlers who have said that although it's taken them a while and been challenging for them to accept this new style of, the new age, faster moving MMA style pro wrestling, that they welcome it because, that's just the route it's going. So the crossover fighters like Ronda and these other fighters that I've known, I haven't talked to Ronda about the crossover specifically. I've only seen her backstage a couple times, but they seem to like it because it's just different. They're still in the limelight, but I feel like, and they can still use all their skills, but I feel like the sense I get from them is that they don't feel like they're retired by any means. They're not like falling back on this easy thing because it still requires a lot of work and dedication, traveling. It's just, I guess when you're entertaining the crowd rather than trying to win for your boss or your purse, I don't know. I think it's just different. I don't want to say they don't take it serious because I believe they do. It's very serious, but it's just different.
I, again, 100% agree with you on that. Obviously, there's a difference with both styles, and I gotta say, as far as you go, I mentioned one name. I mentioned Greg, one of the best trainers that you guys have, and you've got to work with Greg. Talk about working with Greg Frito.
Oh yeah, Greg. He's cool. I didn't know much about him before, and through the training, he would tell me about who he has worked with and trained, and his affiliations with Mayweather, and just he's been around a long time, and especially here in Vegas, gosh, so many fighters have come through and been here and trained and fought out of here. Today, actually, I was at this old location. I think Greg used to have people train at this location. It's not really used anymore. It's kind of like a storage. So there's a boxing ring, there's punching bags, and there's a cage. And I was there working on some stuff earlier. But they have paintings on the wall of all the people who were in Vegas, who was just bigwigs names. I wish I could remember them right now. It's just eluding me. But that used to be the hot spot to like train. It was not quite a gym. It was just kind of like it's someone's property in the back. So it's like it was only for the people who were really serious. And they have all their faces painted on this wall. And I remember Greg mentioning something about that place. He pretty much knew everybody. And for him to take the time to train us girls, especially when we tell people about what we're doing, they kind of, not all of them, but some of them might tilt their head and look at you funny or not take you serious at all. Greg was just treated you like you were one of his fighters, and he was very dedicated to us.
I gotta say, what his training is doing is really paying off, and I gotta ask you as well, as someone who is great at what she does as far as jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, you take what you do seriously, and you're always on the grind. What interested you about jiu-jitsu?
Like I said, I didn't know. I didn't know that I would fall in love with it. It was it was my first couple of days there when it was gi class as opposed to no gi, and I had to borrow one, and it was a little big on me, but we would go through the drills, the technique, and then we'd do live rolling, and these small girls, like I'm saying, like at least 50 pounds less than me, which is barely over 100 pounds, were just like, I could wrestle, but these girls were like getting on my back and choking my ass out, and with my own gi. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? So that's what interested me. That's what fascinated me. I said, okay, I got to know what is going on here for this small person who's not only smaller, but not as strong as me, to get in there and tap me out. Like, I just didn't know. And people with a wrestling background tend to leave their necks open anyway when it comes to grappling. So it's kind of easier. But I quickly learned how to avoid that. And yeah, that's what kept me going. It was just like, there's so much to learn, and the learning curve is really fast, but there's so much that the curve is so huge. I mean, just like something you've been struggling with when it comes to jiu-jitsu, struggling with learning, like passing a guard, or if you're in half guard, just one simple little movement, one nuance can make all the difference. And I'm talking about a matter of an inch or two. So that's what fascinates me and keeps me going about jiu-jitsu. Also, discipline. Was that your question? Because I could keep rambling. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'll be honest with you. That was going to be my follow-up. We're on the same wavelength here. We're like same minds here. I was actually going to say what's great about jiu-jitsu is the disciplinary part of it as well, because you learn a lot of discipline. Like you mentioned, you learn, obviously, as far as the facet of jiu-jitsu goes, you learn a lot, and also you learn and, you obtain discipline from it.
Definitely. And growing up and doing sports, I was always good at sports. I was just pretty naturally athletic genetically, but also we grew up in a town where sports were real prevalent. So, but because I was natural at it, I didn't really have to try hard, and it was small enough of an area where my competition, I just always stayed a step ahead of. When it came down to getting serious about it, as I got older, I puttered out. I didn't have the discipline to keep doing it. But I realized I really liked that I was entertaining people anyway, but I don't think sports were what I would have chose to do if I had known what life had to offer. I like the athleticism. I like being fit and athletic, and I am that way now only because of my childhood, but I would definitely suggest a type of martial arts to any parent because of the discipline. So yes, jiu-jitsu gave me this discipline, but it also kept my interest. But I will tell you this, and I've been thinking about it so much for the past month. Everybody who does jiu-jitsu, like you said, agrees that discipline, it has changed so many people's lives that I've talked to for ways for the better. I don't know what it is about it. I think a lot of it is being close to people. Like, strangers don't just go around and hug each other, but in jiu-jitsu, you'll not only hug each other, but you'll try to take them down. You'll land on them. You'll lay on them. You'll have them between your legs. You'll, sit on them. You're close. You're going to drip sweat in their eye. You might spit on their mouth. Like, there's just weird things, but because of those things, you break down your barriers, like any walls you might have, and you instantly become closer to these people. That's why I think if you were to hug a stranger on the streets and everybody hugged each other, we'd all be happier and friendlier. But jiu-jitsu does that within the school, and everyone's happier and friendlier. And that's just my theory. But I was going to say that what I've been thinking about for the last month is not only that, but it was my first and original sensei that really did it for me. I might have loved jiu-jitsu anyway, but it was truly him that made me want to get better and want to do it and want to be there every single day. I had never had a day job before, but I fought traffic to go to my job, to sit in an office, and then straight from the office fought traffic to go straight to jiu-jitsu, and I didn't get home till like 8:30 every day. I'd leave at 8 o'clock and get home at 8:30, all because it's jiu-jitsu. So, and then what it was about him was he wasn't. There's some teachers and trainers, and everybody's different. He just happened to work for me. So some teachers teach differently, and it might be more effective for other people. But his teaching worked for me, and part of the teaching was if I was late, he wouldn't reprimand you or anything. He would just kind of talk shit, and basically, in some kind of way, that was his way, he would make you realize there are no excuses. You're either going to be there or you're not. You're either going to make it or you're not. Like, obviously, if there's bad traffic, there's nothing I could do, but I was there, and I was happy to at least be there, than not be there, because then the next day, if I had showed up and wasn't there the day before, he'd have something to say. And it wouldn't make me feel bad, but it made me want to try harder. For other people, it might have made them feel bad, but for me, it made me want to push myself harder. And I think it's because I wanted to win his respect. And the reason why I cared so much about his respect was because of the way he lived his life and his past and his history. He was and is so dedicated and committed to jiu-jitsu that why would I not want to learn from someone like that? There's nothing else in his world as important as jiu-jitsu is. And for any topic or any situation or anything you want to learn, why wouldn't you want to learn that topic from a person who feels that way? And he just lived his life by what he said. I mean, he was never late. He was there 5 days a week. He always was. He had fought before. He used to fight in the cage, and I liked his style. He was just fearless. And, when he started fighting, he was young and wild. And that's, it had been years, so he's a bit older now. But I just liked what I saw. Like, that was someone who I would look up to, and so I think that's why I wanted to push so hard to win his respect. If it was someone that I didn't respect or see greatness in, I would have been like, oh, I'm trying to learn my best. But for the most part, most jiu-jitsu senseis or professors have a lot of greatness. But he was my first, and I don't know, maybe everyone's always in love with their first anything, right?
Exactly.
Not in love.
Got it. I know what you meant.
You know what I mean? Okay.
Now, okay, and one point I will reiterate before. First and foremost, girl, I can listen to you talk all day, so there's no point in this where you're rambling, so you're absolutely fine.
Okay. I do ramble, and sorry about that.
No, please, you're fine, so please. No worries. You're welcome. All right, now I wanted to touch upon this as well, because like we mentioned the MMA wrestling tie-in, this kind of has a little MMA wrestling tie-in, because what's big in wrestling now, obviously, is a lot of the international companies and talents you see from the UK, Japan, Mexico, etc., etc. You guys in the LFC have a lot of great, I believe you guys have a new one coming out from London as far as a fighter goes. There's just a lot of international flavor as well in the LFC, and I gotta admit that's gonna be great for your product, just because you get to see them show their craft in the States, and we also different cultures.
You mean our fighters?
Yeah, as far as the fighters go, yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. They definitely have a diverse mix, and a lot of them they found in Las Vegas because it's such a melting pot, especially for it's the fight capital of the world, so, well, at least of the United States. I'm not sure how the rest of the world feels about it. But, yeah, we had a show lined up for Jamaica, and it's still pending. And I think that, the diversity is going to definitely help. I mean, the United States is a melting pot, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I love about it, because like I said, you got the different mix, and again, it's a win-win for both the international side of things and us, because again, it's with the United States being the melting pot, like you mentioned, and then we just the overall diversity of it, and again, just learning from different cultures and just different styles of a fighter, depending on what how they were trained and all that, and how they were. As far as all in all, it's great for both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about your opponents. You're welcome. Let's talk about your opponents. Man, I've seen a lot of your work. First and foremost, I'll say this about you, Jessie. Your entrance is amazing, because you got, like I said, you accentuate you come out, your beauty. But when that bell rings and you just go in there for the kill, It's amazing just to see your fights because you've had so many great fights. And the first one I want to mention to you is Shay the Fox Mazzato. I saw that fight. Obviously, the height difference. The overall, like I said, there's a difference as far as height and just the overall, person. But I just wanted to say that was an amazing fight. I really did enjoy that fight. From
Thank
bell to
you.
bell, really.
I felt bad. I felt bad about that fight just because it's going to be no fun if I just crush her.
Exactly.
And this, I think, is what's the difference about LFC and other fights. Is I don't know if, for example, someone like Cyborg would, let's not use Cyborg because she crushes anyone. Let's say Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate has a huge, weight difference. They're both phenomenal fighters for their weight class, but don't you think the bigger one's just going to have a slight advantage?
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe that's not as big as a weight difference as my fight was with Shay, but in my opinion, I felt like it wasn't fair, and I felt like they were making fun of me because they knew that if I fought someone that was going to be more of an equal fight, it would lead me to, let's put it this way, maybe there's some politics that goes on like any business, maybe like boxing always had, and I'm a little rebellious in certain ways. So if I'm not going to be the one kissing producers' asses and people's asses to allow them to get me what I want, I'm not going to get what I want. So if I want a good, strong fight, I feel like they were just going to laugh at me and not let me have a fight that I could show what I'm made of, that I could shine in. So in my opinion, and with no disrespect to Mazzato, because she's awesome and phenomenal, she just happens to be 50 pounds lighter than me. But in my opinion, I could have crushed her in the first round. But what fun would that have been?
Well,
what fun would that have been? Because we don't really know who we're lined up against till a little bit before, till the public knows. So, I prepare for anything and I work hard. So here I'm working my ass off, and then they're going to tell me I'm fighting, someone so small. So I don't know if you watched the entire fight, but there were numerous times, at least a few times, where I told her coach he was stupid for letting her take this fight.
I saw it.
I think it was when I was slamming her head in the cage in front of him.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it was.
She could get seriously hurt. Because, ultimately, we're still actors and entertainers. We're still trying to have a television show that show what we can do. We don't want to get injured. I don't, but I could injure her. And then I'm like, I feel like I was picking on a little third grader.
Well,
does that sound cocky? It does, but okay.
No, please, it's fine. I'll tell you right now. And first of all, it's not cockiness, it's confidence, and that's what you exude. You have a lot of confidence there, and that's what I dig about you. You go in there and you look, and like I said, it's that killer instinct. It's the killer instinct, and look at your name, El Toro Santos, El Toro Bull Killer. So it's the package right there, Miss Santos. So
yeah,
I'll tell you right now. As far as the fight goes, like I said, what was great about the fight is that it told a story. The underdog being Shay, and you being, you're the Goliath and she's David. So it made for a great fight, and I think the cockiness of it, if you want to say, there was the point in the fight where you had her in the headlock and you did twerk while you had the lock in on her. And like you mentioned with the
I'll tell you what. You know what? I'll tell you why. Okay, because of the politics, I believe that might go on, and it just happens. It happens, I think, in any business, and then especially in the fight world, but also with anything that includes sexy women, sex, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that there's that going on, but I feel like I was chipped out of my win against Roxy. I feel like the judges were biased. I feel like they were either paid off. I feel like even one producer said he said verbatim, you got, what did he say? You got What's the expression when you get ripped off, basically?
Well, I was going to say the general, you got screwed, or you got, well, ripped off would be perfect verbiage as well. You got,
Well, I think screwed is closer to what he said.
okay.
I can't remember verbatim. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. But right after the fight, he said that. And so I have this belief that there was some, because ultimately it is for TV, right? It's reality TV, of course. And we, as the actors on reality TV, we're being ourselves and doing what we need to do. But who knows what the behind the scenes are doing? They could be like the Truman Show and just puppet the people around us to get our reactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I got screwed from the fight with Roxy. She put up a good fight, but that was in Slovakia. And so she's like a favorite. And I'm not saying she kisses ass, but she definitely does more than I do. And she's sexy. She's hot. She's super beautiful girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the judges just loved the way she flirted with them. I ignored the judges. I'm there to fight. I ignore the judges. So my belief with that fight and a couple other of my teammates' fights, I believe were rigged. They were set up, and they were unfair. So with this fight with Shay, the twerking incident came from because I turned my ass that way to face the judges, to show them my ass, because when I came out into the cage, you could see me bent over, crouched over, and I'm talking to them. And I said, this is rebellious, but trying to be righteous, Jessie Toro Santos, saying, I don't believe, or I said, if you guys are really real judges and not just being paid off to make someone win who you're told to make win, blah, blah, blah. Basically, I was talking shit. I was like, if you guys going to pick the sexiest girl to win, and here's this, and I like dance in front of them, I'll play the game too, right? I'll play the game if I have to. So that twerk action was for them. Like, was that sexy enough for you? Like that. So really had nothing to do with Shay. It had to do with mocking production, basically.
Well, I gotta say, you got their attention, and I'm gonna. Well, you did, and I'm just gonna say that's what I like about you: the rawness, the uncutness. You're just you, and you're just going out there, like I mentioned. And you obviously, we know what we're getting with you, Miss Santos, when you get into the ring, man. Because I'm gonna say this right now: the next match, where I was actually the next fight was the Roxy thing. I was gonna mention that because, like I said, she's the current champion, and if there's anyone more deserving of a title shot, it would be you. So that was what I was going to add to that. So because you pretty much covered the whole Roxy thing.
Thank you. I know. I think that if I had won the fight with Roxy like I was supposed to, according to anybody who knows how to judge actual judgments, I might have had that title shot. But she cheated, so that's okay because I don't want it right now.
Okay.
I would have to have it right now, and I feel too busy.
I think the best thing that also describes you, because we accentuated, your beauty, the physicality, and what you overall bring to LFC and the product. I gotta say, I think, would you say the overall moniker, so kind of with you, would be any means necessary? Any means necessary would fit your overall style.
I like that. I definitely like that.
All
yeah,
right.
I think it definitely encompasses it.
Okay, I'm just saying because you have that, and you mentioned Rebel, so Rebel without a cause would fit. And like I said, it all ties in together and just exudes you overall as a person.
Yeah, well, I think I'm a righteous dude, but, people might just think I'm just, gosh, I keep forgetting words. What's the word? Subordinate.
Insubordinate.
Insubordinate, yeah. Might just call me that.
Well, everybody's got an edge to them, and you definitely, most certainly have that edge. So.
Yeah, well, I got in trouble a couple of times from LFC, and I didn't get suspended or anything because it wasn't anything that extreme to be suspended for, but it's like I think they would only single me out because I'm not, like I said, kissing their butts, basically.
Got you. So if I was to paint a scenario for you, it would be like, say, like your fight is on before the main fight, right? You finish the fight, and you know the fight's awesome. You know I just put in a killer performance, and I'm just like, you know what? You just yell back and you go, follow that. Everybody's watching, all eyes are on you, and you just go follow that to the back because you knew, it doesn't matter what the main event is. My fight was the shit, and whoever has to follow that, good luck.
That's good idea. That's very true. I know. You're totally right.
Okay. I have a couple.
And that's what's going to make the viewers are going to want to see, like, something. If no one can follow it, because then after that, they won't be able to, then the viewers are going to say, that sucks. We want something like Jessie's fight.
I'm just saying. I mean, truth is truth. Facts are facts. That's what it is. Yeah. So, all right.
Oh, so that's back to the Shea fight, though.
Go ahead.
That's why I didn't just end it right away. I was kind of testing to see if it was what I believed it to be, set up or a rig against me because of my lack of cooperation, because I want to fight, not... it's a long story, the background story is maybe... But, so I just made sure to stay on top of Shea, literally and figuratively, and I knew I had the points. I knew, I reversed everything. Everything that you could get points for, sweeps and takedowns. I totally, excelled, and I knew I had more points than her the whole time, right? Mm-hmm. So I was going to let it go to judge's decision. I mean, there was a point where she got me in something. I was like, oh my God. But I had to kick it up a notch to get out of that real fast. But I was going to let it go to judge's decision just to prove myself. I was pretty sure they were going to choose Shea. And if that was going to be the case, because I knew that I had more points, I was going to go to the producers and tell them, look, I know for a fact now that this is rigged, that you guys set this up. There's no way. These people are not judges. So, and the LFC interviewed me after that fight too, and I did tell them that if they're like, well, what if they did choose Shea? And I was like, well, I would definitely know for sure then that it was what I thought it was, a fake. Reality TV, everyone says is reality, and it is, but that's where the gray area comes in. Everyone thinks that the characters on the TV are the actors, but it's more so the writers are what they're doing around the actors to get the reaction is what reality TV really is. It's like a controlled TV, a controlled reality, basically. So anyhow, they didn't have Shea win, so maybe that was legit. Maybe they knew I was expecting that. Who knows?
Now, we talked about Shea. We talked about Roxy. I'm going to say this to you. As far as... Now, I mentioned you being the dominant force as far as LFC goes. An amazing record. I'll say this. It's very rare to see you lose a fight. And I have to say, even though you lost the fight, you've been very gracious in how you lose. Because, it's a learning experience. So, you come back and you fight even harder. One particular bout I have to talk about with you is talk about working with Allie Baby Doll Parks.
Yeah, I've had 4 fights at the LFC right now, and in between 2 California sanctioned amateur fights. So the very first one was the one with Allie Parker, and that's like right when I started doing jiu-jitsu, before I really started training hard. I figured they said Allie was a wrestler, and there'd probably not be a lot of strikes because I was kind of scared of punches and stuff just because I wasn't familiar with them. And it's just incredible how much you can learn in a short amount of time, because that was only in the year 2015, so only 3 years ago. And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't sure what to expect with this company. Nobody really knew what to expect. So I knew I had some grappling skills and wrestling skills under my belt. And this girl was a wrestler, so they said, just go and do it. No big deal. There's money for you. I said, great. I'll do anything for money, probably. If there's enough money, really anything. No. But it sounded fun. And so when I met when I learned about Allie, I learned that she had just had an operation in which she donated her kidney, and I felt very sympathetic towards her. And I just look back on that, and it's a lot like my first California sanctioned fight, amateur fight, which outside of the LFC was very similar in that I kind of wanted to just, it's kind of like when you're sparring or grappling or rolling live in jiu-jitsu, you kind of go to the level your opponent is going. If they're only giving 50%, you're not going to go 100. If they're going 100%, you're going to go 100%. And it's my fault. This is my learning lesson in life. Like, you got to go 100% and do things. But like I said, I felt naive. I felt like I didn't know what to expect, and I felt sympathetic towards Allie. She had a big old scar on her belly. And so I'm not saying that I could have won. I don't think so, but I definitely could have pushed myself harder. But she caught me in the guillotine, and it happened like super fast. Like, it was the stupidest thing. And honestly, since then, I'm like, that was just so weird. Like, I just don't even know how. I see her nowadays, and I really, really like that girl. She's super sweet.
I'm going to tell you right now, as far as, well, what she did, that's very admirable. And personally, you got to love it. I mean, given, a kidney, like I said, that's just, wow, very admirable.
Yeah.
And that really touches your heart. It really does. It touches your heartstrings. It pulls on the old heartstrings. And I got to say, I've seen what she's done in LFC, and I think she is still one of the most integral parts of that. And yes, very sweet person. And that's another one, like I said, if you look at LFC, besides your name popping up there, you cannot just not mention Allie Baby Doll Parks. Let's put it that way. So absolutely 100% agree with you on that. Another fighter I did have written down I wanted to ask you about, Natasha Rattlesnake Rodriguez.
Yeah. Gosh, I wish I could see her more often too. Like, we became closer after that fight. She came in kind of like a brawler background. She had some training, but kind of grew up, in the hood, if I should say. She kind of was just tough, like edgy like that. And she's a little scrapper, and she knew that. But I think it was definitely just maybe her lack of experience. But she has a lot of heart. She did not give up. Like, that girl did not quit. A lot like Shay, not as technical as Shay, but definitely full of feisty attitude.
All right.
I haven't seen her on a show since, so we haven't been on the same bookings.
Okay. I'm just going to say this because I dug that match. I dug all of it, and I just want to say this to you as well because this ties into where I was going here. So I wanted to ask you about your fitness as well because I'm going to say you look absolutely amazing. You're probably, you always look amazing, but what you're doing, just keep doing it because you, as far as physical standpoint, you're just, like I said, wow. You really are you're in the best shape of what you're doing.
Aw, thanks.
No problem. Just talk about your fitness overall. Just like, as I said, every time I see you, you're either always grinding with your jiu-jitsu, you're always in the gym, you're just always putting in that work, and that's a very admirable quality. And just, again, it goes back to the disciplinary factor.
Yeah. Well, I don't go to the gym too often. I'll have, I'll have to go lift weights every now and then, or before a fight, I have a strength and conditioning coach. He makes me do kettlebells and flip tires that are miserable, but that gets me in the best shape ever. Just those 6 weeks of camp right before a fight, and the payoff is I could just feel the difference. But after a fight, I want to pamper myself, and then it just goes away. But I do still stay in somewhat decent shape just because I always train. And like I said before, I'm not trying to have any type of body. I never really was concerned about the way my body looked. I just like to feel strong. I like to feel good. there are times throughout my life as an adult where I had gained some weight and gotten chubby, especially in the midsection. It's my problem area. And I wasn't so concerned with that, with the way it looked. It was that I could feel the drag. I could tell. Or like now, I'm so in tune with my body, and I think of it as very separate from me because it is, and I talk to it too. I'm like, I thank it. But now I could tell, like if I eat something bad, I can notice a difference almost immediately, if anything, the next day, even if it's not too much of it. There's just certain, I don't know if it's a certain chemical in certain things or what, but it's just incredible how much what you put into your mouth affects you. I mean, I guess if a tiny little pill can take your horrible allergies away, imagine what a huge meal can do. So, yeah, that's the main thing is I don't drink soda pop. I can't go to fast food. I definitely feel, the next few hours.
Got you. And I'll tell you right now, as far as me, I try to cut back on soda. I'll have a little bit every now and then.
It's hard.
It is. It really is hard. It is. Because I'm more of like a diet soda drinker, but mostly, as far as my drink of choice, if it's not the soda, which again, I'll admit it, I try to cut, but it's hard.
It's okay.
It is
I'm not
hard.
trying to talk shit about it.
No, you're fine, please. But I gotta say, the best thing is probably water. Because if it's not like a diet soda, my go-to is water. Because it's H2O. And like I said, water is very good and it's very healthy for the body.
Oh, it's very delicious.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it was my friend when I had to cut weight. Because in LFC, obviously, there's no weight classes. But in the other fights, I had to cut weight. And the only way is to drink, gallons every single day. So that's where I think taught me like how important it is. I think it was the water, and when I think the most I did was I cut 14 pounds in like it was less than a week. So that took me down to under 13% body fat, and just in that water weight cut that I cut, it blew my mind basically. And it was simply that I wasn't stuffing my face because I eat large portions when I eat, even if it's not good, and that's my problem. And so I just, had to cut down on what I ate, but mostly and there's so many diet trends that every year there's something new, or there's the keto or paleo, whatever these. They're great ideas, and I would suggest it to anybody, but that's the way things were supposed to be. You're supposed to eat natural foods. That's the way people did for hundreds and hundreds of years before this century or the last century. And then we think it's like some new discovery where we have to eat fresh or organic. Like, hello, the way it's supposed to be. We were brainwashed into believing otherwise for their pocket, for the industry's fat dollar. So I think that's another motivating factor for me with food is, I'm getting other people rich while they're getting me chubbier.
All right. Now, I think it for me is with, like, we'll talk about some more with food in here, but I'll mention the soda thing. All right. So as someone who does not drink or drug, I think my choice for drinks were milk, water, and soda. I had a little juice in there, so that was always as far as that. And now as food goes, man, I'm guilty of fast food. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's delicious, but after a while you feel like a stuffed pig.
Eat too much of it?
Yes. Well, and then the other thing is, I'll have a banana. I'll have whatever. Like I said, I'll throw my fruits and veggies in there. And what's great about it is, too, I was in, middle school, the big thing in health, and they even showed in high school. Do you remember the movie Super Size Me, the documentary Super Size Me?
I do remember that.
Oh my God, with Morgan Spurlock, on the McDonald's diet for 30 days, and he went from 182 to 210 pounds in 30 days, and he goes hard in the paint on the first day. He's getting the double quarter pounder with cheese. They show him vomiting over the car. I'm like, oh, he went hard in the paint in the first couple days. And don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of the extra and the large portions and all that, but I'm like, oh, and I think that's what really turned turned you off because they showed you that in health class. Because like I'm a graduate class of 2010 as far as high school, but in middle school, when I was in middle school, 2004, 2005, that was the like pinnacle, the documentary that showed you like, yo, this is what happens. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you actually seen the documentary, that guy who is like obsessed with Big Macs and he looks amazing for his size. He's like super skinny and lean. And then you have the other one. The best was the guy. He goes, I don't care what it is. I'm not even worried about carbohydrates or a calorie. If I'm hungry, I eat. That's it. So I mean, you gotta like applaud the honesty, but still, you see all the facets of life as far as the fitness goes in that documentary.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I saw it. I'm surprised they showed it to you in school, but I guess that's a great
Well, it also
film
applies.
to show.
Well, it also applies because his girlfriend was like super vegan, and she was like always feeding him like vegetables and all this vegan stuff, whatever vegans eat, which is fine. I got no problem with vegans, but whatever like salads or casseroles or whatever, like she was feeding him, and then she was like so concerned because oh my god, he's filling his gut with meat and burgers and carbohydrates and the hotcakes and sausage and a double quarter pounder with cheese, and of course we got to supersize it because we got to supersize it and supersize me, but yeah. And you know what's so funny about that? Because do you remember at the time, like McDonald's, like they actually credit at the end of the documentary, McDonald's said, "Oh, the reason that we got rid of the supersize me because what happens. It had nothing to do with the documentary." They were very apparent in saying it had nothing to do with the documentary.
Really?
Yes.
Oh gosh, that's crazy.
It is. But yeah, like that's what I'm saying. That was like the key to. So, and a lot of my listeners who went to East Islip and went to the East Islip High School District on Long Island, New York, will know that Supersize Me was the go-to in our health classes. So, y'all know what I'm talking about. So, anyway, I digress. Now, as we're coming to a close on this interview, and I'm going to send the invite right here. You're more than welcome to come back on anytime. We'll promote LFC and just talk about you and just shoot the breeze. You're more than welcome to come back on anytime.
I appreciate it. I'm glad that you reached out to me and got me to talk about it, like specifically. I know you talk to a lot of people, so I like that you singled me out for just me being Jessie for just LFC. I think that's cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm a big proponent with the LFC. Like I said, you guys accentuate beauty. You cross over, like we mentioned, with the international talents and the international exposure. We talked about, just the fights that you guys have. I mean, it's a great product, even though, like we mentioned, the detractors, because, I'm like, no, just enjoy it for what it is. It's unique. It's different. If you don't like it, that's fine. But, again, shut your mouths, because everybody's got an opinion. Ugh. I'm sorry, but the like I said, the derogatory and the detractors just that's the problem nowadays. Everybody's always got something to say, and you know what it is? People just too damn angry. Put a smile on your face. Like, come on, live each other.
Yeah,
you're getting up in the morning and you're healthy and you're living another day. Come on. No, so
that's very true. I like that a lot. What do you do? Do you go to school or are you do journalism? I mean, what do you do?
Me? I'll tell you right now, I worked in market research for 8 years. It's funny you mention this because we're going to build a website. We're going to have this website coming. We're going to have a lot of websites coming. I'm doing a wrestling website. I'm doing a website for the S&M Show podcast network coming up. So, and I'll probably take some online courses. But yeah, right now I was on the grind with market research for 8 years. And oh my God, what's so funny about market research is, yes, you can make your own hours, and at times you would have like a short hiatus. But man, I was doing 9 to 9 shifts, 9 to 4:30 shifts, just in the morning into like a 9 to 5. I would go in at nights from like 5 to 9, 10, 11, or 12 because we close at midnight. What's so funny is where I used to work for market research, this spot used to be a actual bowling alley. So when the bowling alley closed, this place came up, and it's been around for over 30 plus years on Long Island. So I came in there in like 2010. I started, it was something I got into, obviously the thing with market research is they go about it as far as like, they consider it's kind of like telemarketing, but it's not, because telemarketers, they call you and they want you, they want to offer you something. They try to sell you something. What we don't sell you anything. We just do surveys. So that would be like the crossover. Oh, you're trying to sell something. No, we're not. So we had to like explain and differentiate like telemarketing and market research. Yes, it might sound similar, but it's completely different. But it was challenging and it was very good. Like I would work, like I mentioned, the 9 to 4:30 hours. I would do 9 to 9 shifts, 9 to 10 shifts. I would do the late shift where I wouldn't be coming home until around midnight at night or 12:30. So it was long, and I was constantly doing it, whether it be Monday to Friday. I would do weekends if I could. could, and that would be like in the afternoon or at night. I've done pretty much like everything there for the past 8 years, and now I'm down here in Myrtle Beach. I'm taking a little bit of a break, but I'm gonna probably get on the job hunt very, very soon, and I'm gonna develop this website and just for everybody to enjoy great content. So, you know what, the future's looking bright, and I'm just constantly on the grind. So that's how you got to be.
Oh, and that's, I think, why you recognize the good qualities in other people, and that's why you bring it out, and you always do your research and know what to ask the people that you interview. And I think it's because you have a lot to offer too, and you have a lot of interesting things going on, and you know what it feels like to work hard, and that's why you probably appreciate it and find the people who also do. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. And I got to say, I learned from a lot of great people. My dad has the great work ethic. I mean, my dad has worked for a good majority of his life, 2 jobs, and he's always on the grind. My mom, right now, she's retired. So, I mean, she did her thing, and she was always on the grind. I had great role models in my mom and my grandmother, God rest her soul. My father and my grandfather, God rest his soul. So, yeah, I was very lucky and privileged to be surrounded by a lot of great people.
Oh, yeah, runs in the family.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Now, as far as LFC goes, I got to ask you, any advice that you'd like to give to anybody who wants to pursue a career, just join up with LFC? It's a great organization, have great people like yourself, Miss Santos, in it, or just all facets of life. Any advice for any guy or gal that wants to pursue a career, and whether it be an LFC, as far as a lady goes, and just in general?
Sure. Okay, we'll start the LFC. As far as I'm aware, the LFC is always seeking female fighters of any background, of any weight class, of limited background even, and then they do and can provide training. And I think that I would probably direct you to the website, which is lingerie.sc.com, to further that. I know that they have like a submission area where you can express your interest and send pictures, etc. And I think it's awesome because they travel. I mean, you get to travel and see these places. You meet other beautiful, strong women because, there's 2 teams, so it's always the black team versus the pink team. And, the camaraderie on each team is really cool because there's some really incredible females that I've gotten to meet through them. And I wish... even on like my YouTube channel, there are people who literally think women can't be strong. Like literally, they actually believe women can't be strong. But then one time, I took a self-defense class amongst many, and the women weren't that strong. They're teaching us some techniques and stuff where you kind of had to push into a person and use your muscle. And I was surprised. I was like, okay, we got a lot of work to do here, but we can't. They weren't athletic. And that's the way they were raised. They just don't have that muscle mass and muscle memory in their body. So maybe some people are right. They just are used to seeing the women that they're around, and maybe those women happen to not be athletic, and that's fine. But I just can't believe that that's people's mentality thinks that that's the only kind of women out there, because we see all kinds of strong and diverse people. There's men who aren't athletic and who are not strong, and we need them too because they do other jobs and other things, and we all work together and we create a beautiful world. But for this LSD, we would like to showcase strong, confident women who can show other women that it's okay to be sexy and strong at the same time. And that's how I perceive the LFC. That's my perception through LFC. So I'm not sure if they would say that, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhat along those lines. If they want to pursue any kind of martial arts, I definitely recommend women getting into jiu-jitsu, because you don't have to be strong necessarily or big. The techniques that you can learn in jiu-jitsu are created in Brazilian jiu-jitsu are created for the stronger, weaker opponent. So because you could get the biggest man. I mean, for example, I know a guy like right now is 250 pounds and he's so big, but he is so big and so strong that his shoulders are so tight that if I got him in some kind of key lock or Kimura, Americana, Omoplata, he would tap immediately. It's just about learning how to get that big person into that position. It's super easy if you drill the technique over and over, no matter what size you are, because you're not trying to fight against this force. You're just trying to get inside of him to grab his little wrist, you know? and get it in an angle where he's vulnerable. It's super easy. So I recommend any woman to try out Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for fitness and for fun and for camaraderie. And I know some autistic people who joined it, and they as adults, they talk about how much it's helped them to open up and learn how to be comfortable in some uncomfortable situations. That's the word that she said. And I definitely recommend it to parents to have your child do wrestling or some kind of martial arts, even karate, although karate is not going to help you with self-defense as much. But, I mean, it'll teach you discipline. But you might as well teach you discipline and some self-defense, so then your kid gets enough confidence so that he won't get picked on. So there's my rant there. But I think that's about all I had to say. That's my final words is, I mean, discipline. And I've been trying to, I know when I was a kid, I got mixed up. I thought discipline meant being disciplined, like being disciplined, like yelled at, reprimanded, whatever. But discipline really is just not giving up on something. It's just continuing on with it. That's simply what discipline is. And I never knew that. But I guess you kind of have to have some motivation or someone, like I said, my sensei did it for me, to do it. But sometimes you won't have anybody. Sometimes you guys got to do it for yourself. That's self-discipline.
Well, that was beautifully said, and that applies to all facets of life, like you mentioned, not just MMA and martial arts and jiu-jitsu and going into LFC. So, again, it's an amazing promotion. I love everything. So, amazing what you guys are doing with LFC. I love it. I urge anybody to go out and check it out. Now, for you, this is where I step back. Promote your Twitter, promote LFC's social media. Just promote yourself and go right ahead.
Awesome. Okay. I don't remember that active on the social media, but Twitter and Instagram are what I use. And let me check it out. What is my Instagram name? Do you know? What's my Twitter name?
Okay, so if you guys want to follow Jessie El Toro Santos on Twitter,
I don't even know.
The links will be in the description. First of all, I'm not laughing because you don't know. You have no idea how many times this has come, because a lot of people have a brain fart on the social media. Well, you know what? I'll just put the links in the description. It's at Jessie El Toro it's El Toro Santos LFC on Twitter. You'll see it in the description, folks. And it's El Toro Santos _ LFC on the Instagram. You can check out LFC on Twitter at Lingerie FC, Lingerie Fighting Championship on Facebook and Instagram. The links for everything will be in the description, so I think that's the best way to cover it.
Yeah, there it is. It's at El Toro Santos _ LFC for Instagram. And
was I right on the Twitter? Was I right on the Twitter? Was it Jessie El Toro Santos or Jessie El Toro LFC, something like that?
Yeah, Jessie El Toro LFC. I should make them the same, huh?
No, you're fine. Okay. Here's the thing with. All right, you see, I don't want to rant on social media, but I got to have a mini rant on this. I mean, you ranted about some stuff, so I got to get a mini rant. Everything has to have a damn number or a damn underscore in it. So here's the thing. Look at my Twitter. I have a personal Twitter, and anybody, I'm the nicest guy in the world. So as long as you're not a dick to me, I won't block you. So mine is MCL92. Very easy. You know why? Because it's my initials, and it was the year I was born.
And your birthday, yeah.
Thank you. Now then you look at the show Twitter, SM Show 1. Why? Because my main show is with myself and another gentleman by the name of Steve Nicoforo. Been my best friend since high school, so I am one half of the show, hence SM Show 1. And then the Instagram is very easy, Larkin _ 92, because we have to have those damn underscores in there.
And the underscore.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, like I said, as long as you keep it simple, you kept it simple there because it's your name, El Toro Santos _ LFC. That's the promotion you're with. And you, as far as, hey, Jessie El Toro LFC. So, both ways, either way it works, because it incorporates you as a person and it incorporates the organization. So, you're perfectly fine on both fronts.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to know. When I use my last name, when I use my first name. But
it works.
El Toro Santos.
Yeah. We know.
Or you could just Google hot fighter twerks on opponent's head.
Why? All All right, it's on YouTube. I'll put the Lingerie Fighting Championship YouTube page in there, so that's no problem.
Yeah, that has only 72,000 views.
Okay, well, all right. Let's be real here. The sex appeal of it, and just, I'll be honest with you, I'm watching that. Because I'm used to, the headlocks. All right, I get it. They're fighting, they're doing their thing. It's MMA. And then all of a sudden you start twerking, and I'm like, wait a minute. You know what it is, too? Not only does it involve sex appeal, but it just shows, all right, I dig this. The girl's got an edge. It's great. It's different. It's unique. So it incorporates a lot of elements there besides the physical aspect, obviously both literally and figuratively speaking, as we said in this forum. So it encompasses a lot. 72,000 views on that already? Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Oh my God. All right. Check out that video and the YouTube for Lingerie Fighting Championship. The links will be in the description. Now, Miss El Toro Santos, if you would, any final words to your fans? And just any final words in regards to LFC?
To the fans, I want to say thank you, and thank you for giving, including you, Michael, giving LFC a chance, basically, because, like I said, with some people, they just, people still say, oh, you're mocking real fighters who train hard, as if we don't. I don't know, but you don't even know. Why would someone say that? You don't even know. So thank you for not just assuming, and the fans for not just assuming, and everybody works hard with what we do. So that in itself, we are thankful for people like you.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Basically.
Okay, so I'll say this, ladies and gentlemen, a dominant force in the ring, but a sweetheart outside of it. Miss Jessie El Toro Santos, it's been an absolute pleasure tonight, and I look forward to doing this again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.